They say evil can't be contained. But what if it could be sewn, stuffed, and sealed behind button eyes? This is the true story behind Annabelle. Not the porcelain-faced monster from the movies, but the real one. The one that still sits behind glass in Connecticut, with a hand-lettered warning that reads, "Positively do not open." Before Hollywood twisted her into a cinematic nightmare, she was just a gift. A simple, smiling rag doll wrapped in birthday paper. It was 1970. A young nurse named Donna turned 28. She lived with her roommate, Angie, in a small apartment near Hartford, Connecticut. They worked long shifts at the hospital, rarely slept, and decorated their apartment with warm, cheerful things to soften the fatigue of their days. When Donna's mother handed her the package, she smiled. Inside lay a Raggedy Ann doll. Bright red yarn hair, stitched smile, round black eyes. Innocent. Donna placed it on her bed. It made the room look cozy, safe. But the safety didn't last long. Within days, small details began to change. The doll's arms seemed to shift slightly between mornings and nights. Its legs would cross differently. The head turned just enough to make her pause, then shrug it off. Nurses work double shifts, lose track of things. She told herself it was nothing. Until one afternoon when she came home and found the doll sitting on the couch. She was certain she'd left it on her bed. Another day, kneeling, face toward the wall. Then came the parchment notes. Little scraps of old-fashioned paper left around the apartment. Written in a childish scrawl. 2 words each time, "Help me." Donna and Angie didn't own parchment. They didn't even keep pencils like that. And the handwriting looked young. They laughed nervously, blaming each other, maybe friends, maybe stress. But something cold settled in Donna's chest. That instinctive feeling when the air in a room shifts and you know you're not alone. Then came Lou. He was Angie's friend. Confident, sarcastic, the kind who thought ghosts were for children. When they told him about the doll, he chuckled. "It's a prank," he said. "You're scaring yourselves." But a few nights later, Lou had a dream or something worse. He said he woke to find Annabelle at the foot of his bed. The doll wasn't smiling anymore. His head turned slowly toward him. Then it climbed soundlessly, weightlessly, up his chest. Its yarn hands pressed against his throat. He couldn't move, couldn't scream. When he finally jolted awake, he gasped for air and saw the scratches. 7 long marks on his torso. 3 vertical, 4 horizontal, as if carved by claws. They bled for 2 days, then disappeared. That was the moment Donna stopped laughing. They called a medium. During a séance, the medium said she felt a presence, the spirit of a young girl named Annabelle Higgins, who had lived and died on the land before the apartment building was built. "She's lonely," the medium whispered. "She sees kindness in you. She wants to stay." Donna felt pity. She said yes. She told Annabelle she could remain, that she was welcome. And with that, the door opened. After that night, the apartment changed. The air felt heavier. The doll's movements grew bolder, no longer inches but feet. They'd return home to find rooms rearranged, objects displaced. One morning, a loaf of bread was found scattered across the floor. Another time, blood-like droplets appeared on the doll's hands. Then the knocking began. Soft at first, inside the walls, under the bed. Donna tried to pray, but the words felt stuck in her throat. When Lou came back to check on them, he felt it immediately. A pressure in his chest, a presence behind him. He turned and saw Annabelle sitting upright on the floor. Before he could blink, something grabbed him from behind. He swung around, but no one was there. That's when they called for help. Not a priest this time, but a couple known for their strange profession. Ed and Lorraine Warren. They arrived quietly, carrying rosaries and notebooks, the air around them calm but alert. Ed listened as Donna described everything, the movements, the notes, the scratches. Lorraine said little at first. She simply stared at the doll. Then she said, "This isn't a child." She could feel it, something cold, deceptive, ancient. Annabelle Higgins wasn't real. The story was bait. Lorraine explained that no spirit of a human child could attach itself to an inanimate object. It was something else pretending to be innocent, something using the doll as a vessel to reach the living. It wanted Donna's soul. The Warrens decided to take the doll with them, but as soon as they left, their car began to fight them. Every curve of the road, the brakes failed. The steering locked. The engine stalled whenever Ed began to pray. Finally, he splashed holy water on the doll, shouting a blessing. The car roared back to life. At home, they built a case, thick glass, oak frame, blessed by a priest. They placed Annabelle inside, locked it, and hung a sign. Positively do not open. For a while, peace returned. Then, one day, a priest visiting the museum mocked the doll. He tapped the glass, saying, "You can't hurt anyone." Ed ordered him to stop. But as the priest drove away, his car flipped off the road. He survived barely. When Ed visited him in the hospital, the man whispered, "I shouldn't have touched her." Later, a young couple came to the museum. The man laughed, banged on the case, dared Annabelle to do something. Ed threw them out. Hours later, the young man died in a motorcycle crash. His girlfriend said they'd been laughing when the brakes failed. Even the Warrens admitted Annabelle didn't move often. But when she did, it meant something. She was quiet now, still behind her glass, but Lorraine claimed she could feel her watching. Sometimes, when she walked past, the chain of her crucifix would grow warm. And every time she looked into those black eyes, she felt that same whisper she'd felt in the apartment years before. A voice that wasn't a girl's. A voice that said only one word, closer. If you're listening right now, still breathing, still curious, I need you to remember something. Evil feeds on attention. It grows in the silence between disbelief and fascination. So before we open that case again, make sure you're subscribed. Because in the next part we're going deeper into what Annabelle really is, where she came from, and why the story hasn't ended. You might want to leave the lights on. The doll is still there. Behind glass, behind locks, behind prayers. But she's there. Watching. Waiting. You can visit her. If you dare. She sits inside the Warren Occult Museum in Monroe, Connecticut, or at least that's where she's supposed to be. Because the truth is, no one really knows what happens when the lights go out in that room. Ed and Lorraine Warren called her the most dangerous object in their collection. Not because of what she'd done, but because of what she still could do. They said Annabelle wasn't just haunted. She was a conduit. That word sounds harmless, but it means something terrifying. A conduit doesn't just hold energy, it channels it. It opens doors. And Annabelle's door, they believed, didn't lead to the spirit of a child, but to something that was never human at all. Lorraine said she'd felt it the moment she first entered Donna's apartment. A presence that wanted to be believed, wanted to be loved, so it could be invited in. It had worn a child's face, told a story of loneliness. But once accepted, it revealed its real purpose. That's why the Warrens never destroyed Annabelle. They feared destroying the vessel would release what lived inside. So they locked her up and kept blessing her case week after week, year after year. But blessings fade. And evil adapts. Over time, things started happening inside the Warren home. At night, Ed would hear heavy footsteps moving through the museum. Lorraine would wake to a thumping sound, dull, rhythmic, coming from inside Annabelle's case. When she entered the room, the sound stopped. The air, however, stayed heavy. Cold, like someone had been standing right behind her. Visitors reported strange sensations, nausea, dizziness, sudden chills. One woman fainted before she even reached the display. Some claimed Annabelle's eyes seemed to follow them as they moved. Others swore they saw her head tilt slightly between glances. No one could prove it, but everyone who entered that room left changed. Quieter, paler, uneasy. One of the priests who blessed the museum each month stopped coming entirely. He said the last time he stood in front of her, he felt a weight pressing on his chest, and a whisper in his ear. A voice that didn't come from the doll, but from inside him. It said, "You shouldn't be here." He dropped his Bible and left. After that, only younger priests came, rotating quickly, never staying long. The Warrens warned people never to mock Annabelle, never to taunt her, never to touch the glass. But of course people did. It's human nature, we poke at darkness to see if it pokes back. And Annabelle did. In one case, a soldier visiting with his fiancée tapped on the glass and laughed. Minutes after they left, his motorcycle crashed into a tree. He died instantly. The fiancée survived, but she swore she'd felt something cold grip her shoulders right before the impact. Something that whispered her name. When the police investigated, they said the brakes had failed. Sound familiar? Some stories repeat themselves like echoes, just loud enough to remind you that they're real. Even Ed wasn't immune. He said once, after handling Annabelle's case, he woke to find deep scratches down his arm, in the same pattern Lou had described years earlier. 3 vertical. 4 horizontal. Across. The doll didn't move again after that, at least not visibly. But the disturbances continued. Flickering lights, disembodied voices, objects falling from shelves with no wind or vibration. Lorraine began sleeping with a crucifix under her pillow. She said she dreamed of a child with red yarn hair, standing at the foot of her bed, whispering, "Let me out." When she told Ed, he said it wasn't a dream. It was an invitation, the kind you must never answer. Years passed. The Warrens grew old. Their collection grew with them, cursed mirrors, haunted toys, items taken from exorcisms. But none of them frightened Lorraine more than Annabelle. She said the doll felt like it remembered, like it learned from every visitor, every stare, every fear. When Ed died in 2006, Lorraine carried on alone. She kept the museum closed to the public more often, saying the energy inside had become unstable. Sometimes, she'd enter the room and find Annabelle's case fogged from the inside. Other times, the case would rattle softly when she walked past, as though something inside was moving. In 2019, Lorraine Warren passed away in her sleep. The morning after her death, the museum's alarm system went off. A motion sensor had been triggered inside Annabelle's room. When the caretaker checked the security footage, it glitched, then went black. Only one frame remained. The doll, with her head turned slightly toward the door. And then 2020, the year the internet swore Annabelle had escaped. It started as a rumor, a tweet, a TikTok, a panic. People said she'd vanished from the museum, that she'd been stolen. Others said she'd moved herself. The truth? The museum had closed due to legal issues, and Annabelle had been relocated for safekeeping. But for several hours, her location was unknown, even to the caretakers. When they found her again, she was sitting upright. No one had placed her that way. No one admitted touching her. And on the floor beside her, there was a small slip of paper. A piece of parchment. 2 words, written in faded pencil. "Help me." Coincidence? Maybe. But the Warrens always said, there are no coincidences when it comes to the demonic. Today, Annabelle sits sealed behind glass once more. The case is reinforced, blessed weekly, surrounded by rosaries. But visitors still report strange sensations. Phones dying in their hands, photos vanishing from memory cards, and the faintest sound, the soft, rhythmic thump of fabric shifting, almost like breathing. Some claim she smiles wider when you mention her name. Others say her expression changes when no one's looking. But here's the most chilling part. In every photo ever taken of Annabelle, her eyes never quite align. One always seems to be looking just past the camera, as if she's watching you. Maybe that's why the Warrens never allowed her case to be moved outside their home. They feared proximity gave her power, that the more people believed, the stronger she became. And maybe they were right. Because right now, as you listen to this, you're thinking about her. You're picturing that red yarn hair, those black button eyes, that stitched grin. And that attention, it feeds her. So if you ever visit, don't touch the glass. Don't knock. And for God's sake, don't say her name out loud. Because she listens. And she remembers. The doll is still there, waiting for someone to make the same mistake Donna did all those years ago, to invite her in. Maybe that someone is listening right now. If you felt a chill while hearing this story, maybe it's just the air. Or maybe she's closer than you think. Either way, you might want to check your bedroom before you sleep tonight. And if you're brave enough to face the next story, make sure you're subscribed. Because what's coming next isn't just haunted. It's alive. So like this video, share it with someone who loves a good scare, and tell us in the comments, would you dare stand in front of Annabelle's case? Until next time, keep your lights low and your doors locked.